Minister of Information will be walking in very shortly, and then we will begin this all-important case. That's the Honorable Minister of Finance. He is followed by the Honorable Minister of Information, and the both senior officials of government will be. The both senior officials of government will be addressing today's briefing. So we hope that you are ready to go and that your gadgets are rolling, like we said earlier. We want to, ladies and gentlemen of the press, we want to use this occasion to firstly welcome all of you to this major press briefing. It is being carried live by various media outlets across the country. Firstly, we have dozens in Monrovia, but we also have dozens more across the country and several online networks that are broadcasting today's program. As you are aware, news broke last evening that Liberia made unprecedented progress in the MCC scorecard. The MCC, the Millennium Challenge Corporation, is a U.S. government aid development agency, that helps with poverty alleviation globally using specific governance indicators. And it has been measuring Liberia for quite some time, for more than a decade. And unlike all of these years, Liberia was recorded to have scored, we were made aware of that last evening, the highest score is ever achieved. And so we are calling this press conference specifically to let you know what that means, and what are the indicators that were measured, where we're making progress and all of that. But before that, I just wanted to welcome, recognize a couple of other government officials in the room. We have the Director General of the Liberian Broadcasting Corporation, Madam Estelle Liberty here. The Deputy Minister of Finance, Dr. Samura Wolokoli, is also here. The official campaign spokesperson of the We Are Taylor 2023 campaign, Councillor Kanyo Bagbala, is also in the room. And we have the Deputy Director General for Media Services at the Liberian Broadcasting System, Mr. Sober George, and as well as Deputy Minister of Transport, Dairos, is also in the room with us. We also have one of the senior stalwarts who was very active in the involvement of the formation of CDC. Mr. Bafle Dole is also here, and our own media, the Jida Talk man. but let me just introduce the two official speakers today. As you are aware, we know them. They are officials that are quite familiar with you. Firstly, the Minister of Information, who deals with the press on a regular basis. Minister Ledger, Julius Rennie. And then we have the subject matter expert, the person who, we were talking a lot about all of the different indicators of the MCC and what have you, what areas Liberia passed. One of the areas being talked about specifically is fiscal policy, which it is said that Liberia has not passed for almost 16 years. But this time around, we passed it on his stewardship. The ultimate stewardship of the president, firstly. But he was the one that the president directed to go and drive that. And I'm talking about the Honorable Minister of Finance, Minister Samuel D. Tweah Jr. So these are the two speakers that are going to be addressing today's program. So without much ado, I will call up the Minister of Information to give you introductory remarks for this occasion. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my colleagues of the media. It's good to see you all here after the first round of vote in deciding the leadership of our country. We're happy that you could come in your numbers today, because today, for us in the government of Liberia, represents a milestone, a day of reckoning, a day that has brought to an end for me and all of us in the government, all of the naysaying about the direction in which our country is headed. And so we've come today to talk to all of you, Liberians, wherever you are, listening to us through the various media platforms here and abroad, about the future of our country and where Liberia is headed under the astute leadership of His Excellency Dr. George Tweah, President of the Republic of Liberia. Overnight, we've heard the results coming from the US-based development agency responsible for international development, the Millennium Challenge Corporation, that deals mainly with countries that have shown strong commitments to effective governance, to economic empowerment, and investing in human population, putting the US taxpayers' money towards that country in helping it to continue to develop. The MCC looks at countries across the world and decide whether or not a particular country is qualified enough to be admitted into such program. Just the fact that Liberia is admitted to the program tells of our commitment of the president and his leadership to ensure that it brings meaningful development and life-changing systems to the people of Liberia. The Minister of Finance and Development Planning will speak of the technical issues and the specificities of the MCC scorecard. For me, I want to talk about the generalities in terms of what this means for Liberia under the leadership of His Excellency the President of our Republic. You will all agree with me that over the last 5 and 6 years, and even before the President assumed political office in our country, there's been this talk that he lacked the leadership ability, the acumen, and the skills and wherewithal to lead a country. Today, that argument has been debunked, has been debased, decapitated, and rubbished. It dismisses in no uncertain terms that he doesn't have the ability and the acumen to administer the affairs of our country. The MCC scorecard and its results. It also trashes and rubbishes the assertion that he's leading the country in the wrong direction. But rather, what does it say? What does it tell of the leadership of the president? That he is capable of leading, and leading in a positive and enviable way. That Liberia, under his stewardship, is going in the right direction. And the future of our country and the young people therein and the poor of our poorest can now look up to the horizon and say their lives will be better down the road under the leadership of the President of our country, Dr. George Tweah. That through his exemplary leadership, Liberia is turning the corner from the dark years of misrule, economic deprivation, and social decadence and exclusion. That's what it means. When you look at the card, It tells all of that. And the Minister of Finance and Development Planning expert will even say more about that when he comes to the podium. More than that, what are the political implications of this MCC scorecard of 2024? We are here today to celebrate what we believe is a monumental achievement on the heels of the re-election of the president, who represents millions of the downtrodden of the very important mass of our population. This group of people have seen at long last a son of theirs, that kind, come to the leadership of our country to deliver to them a country that has been deeply rooted in the depths of despair and hopelessness. But now they can see that there is hope on the horizon and prosperity is ahead. The card speaks for that. Given what President Weah has inherited, this for us is a very big deal. And we'll come to that. All of the international indices about Liberia in the last 3 years have documented progress. But yet, we keep hearing from our brothers on the other side of the divide that the country was headed in the wrong direction. Today, the cat has been let out of the bag. We didn't write the report. The IMF, the World Bank, now the MCC have all spoken of progress of our country. They are forecasting 4.8% GDP growth for our country. For the first time, we've made so much a high score, 70% in the Millennium Challenge Corporation scorecard. We've never achieved that since, as a country like Liberia, since we've come on to be part of the program. We've never achieved that. And it's President George Weah, in spite of inheriting a country that was heading on the downward spiral. What did he inherit? An economy of 0% growth or even negative. How come are we not remembering Liberians? On the first day of the president going to office, he was confronted with clamoring students at the University of Liberia wanting an improved system of registration. He was confronted with 2,000 health workers looking for salaries for their services to the people of Liberia. He was confronted with thousands of volunteer teachers not being on the payroll. Least to say, the international community, through the large presence of the United Nations peacekeeping force and the administrative arm, were backing off to leave Liberia. They were spending anywhere between $90 to $110 million per annum on their operations. Money that was being circulated in our domestic economy. All was leaving Liberia. Hotels, their rooms were closed. People who had buildings rented out to the United Nations and their operations, the landlords were complaining, no business. And the economy was on a downward spiral. What is the story today? What is the story today? But President George Weah is a man that God has chosen. Never despair. He didn't bow his head. He didn't throw the mantle away. He stood firm, always in his life, challenged, but yet confront the odds and come out with shining and bright colors. And today, this is the story of the man. Lifting Liberia from the depths of deprivation and poverty to the horizon of hope and power and prosperity. And yet people will sit and say nothing is happening, nothing has happened. Is it selective amnesia? Or is it innate hate that this young man, whose country didn't provide for him the opportunity to explore his greatest talents to become who he has become, now has become somebody and didn't turn his back on his people, returned home to say, I want to contribute to the development of my people? Is it now that people are beginning to hate him? This is a man who loves his country. Most Liberians who have achieved abroad with their millions have done very little for the ordinary people of our country. Most of them. And you know them, and we can name them. It is President George Weah, from the football fields in Europe, spending his hard-earned money to send students to the University of Liberia, to go to the refugee camps and give our mothers and our brothers and our sisters little something for them to continue to live and have hope for another day. Sacrificing his millions for the young women and men of our country to have an education in the midst of poverty and war. Leaving all of the opportunities available to him then to come home and help in the disarmament of our young people. Most of those who are speaking today evil were the ones responsible for the recruitment of these young people, the arming, training, and recruitment of these young people to come and provide massive destruction to our country. Yet, he said, since they spoiled it, I will return home to fix it. And that's what he's doing. And now we can see for ourselves. We can see for ourselves that our country is making progress. The reports are not coming out of the clear blue sky. The things that we're doing, the leadership the president is showing, tell, and in your communities you can see them. I live on rehab, and I can tell anybody. And I'm sure this story resonates with many out of the communities across our country. During the rainy season, under the Barker administration, the young children going to the Kennedy High School and the other elementary school behind my house couldn't wear their uniforms. Because you know why? The road was so dilapidated, unpaved, that if they wore their uniforms, the mud would take over it before they enter the classrooms or they reach the campus. But today the story has changed. All of the neighborhood roads are being paved, are being reconditioned, and brought to some level of modernization so that people can access their communities in peace and harmony. The LEC, I mean, we can go ahead and talk about all of the different things that the president has done, under the government has done under the leadership of the president. But yet, the naysayers and the doomsdayers and the warmongers, because some of them thrive on chaos. That's when it becomes relevant. Want you to believe that the country is headed in the wrong direction. Unfortunately, this is the jury's verdict. Liberia is headed under President Weah's leadership in the right direction. Let the world go forth. Don't mind them. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. You have every reason to hold your head up high as a Liberian and say we are making steady progress. And I can assure you that the president of our country remains committed to every single word and promises he has made about the development of our country. Development is a process. It's not an event. Times will have their own toll on the processes. But at the end of the day, when 12 years of the presidency of President George Manuel Weah have come to an end, you will be the judge to see CDC 12 years, Unity Party 12 years. What happened? Already you see the signs. In 6, almost 90% covered. What do you think in 12 will happen? So we're happy today. We welcome the report. We commit to continuing to do more in passing some of those triggers that we didn't pass. We will continue to make efforts at improving even those scores that we pass in to make them even higher. Governance is a process. And as things go on, we learn from our mistakes, we make progress, and our people will have better lives. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasing duty to call on our dynamic Minister of Finance and Development Planning, the Honorable D. Samuel Tweah Jr. Baku, welcome.
Are we sure? Ladies and gentlemen of the great Liberian media, after such a splendid delivery by the Minister of Information, I will have very little to add. Permit me to add that very little. My dear brother, you spoke well. And the direction of the speech is what I will continue. It's because he's basically saying this presents the country, the world, the platform to assess the direction of the country. He did say also that everything that is happening today that is shown through the MCC scorecard is not today. The food done now, the palm butter done. We're eating the soup now. Yeah. But we're cooking it 3-4 years ago. So now that you're eating, you have to appreciate the time the food was on the fire. Now what we hear. We talk plenty of things today. I'd like to begin by thanking you for coming and availing yourself so the Liberian people can know the truth. You know, the president made a speech, I think at the UN place the other day, and thank you, the media, because he felt like the role you're playing is indispensable to our peace and our democracy. So we have to clap for you, the media. Yeah, we don't clap with the government. Because, you see, without your objective commitment to the truth, this country can get into trouble. The president was impressed that during the elections you conducted yourselves well, that you were dedicated to ensuring that the country remained peaceful. So that was patriotic responsibility. And we enjoin on you the continuation of that responsibility as we go to the runoff. Liberian people need to know the truth. The government's biggest challenge in the last 5 years is nothing more than propaganda and lies. That's our biggest challenge. Our biggest challenge is that the broad mass of Liberians throughout the country have been fed garbage and lies, packed up in a form that makes them want to believe it, coming at a time of difficulty. So the circumstances aided and abetted the lies. Because of the tough global economic national situation, people say anything, people are angry, they will get frustrated, they will believe it. And many of these people were in the media. And so, Mr. Minister, I think the country has to have a conversation about media institutions and their commitment to quality reporting and objective truth, because that has ramifications for instability in the country. We've seen that. It's a major thing. People get on the radio and just say anything. I'm glad that there are fact checkers that have emerged recently, but I think the fact checkers are too slow for my comfort. Yeah, I'm challenging the fact checkers also. I don't think the fact checkers are rigorous. I don't think they have had the platform to tell the Liberian people, when this person says this, we will come immediately. You all listen to us to counter that. If we say that thing I meant, say the propaganda, then you don't believe that. I don't think the fact checkers have risen to that challenge. So they're still at a low level. So many people will just hear what's on social media, will hear what people say on radio, from former government officials, some of them clueless, some of them know what they're talking, but because they are former government officials, they just talk. Somebody will say, send a man a former minister of finance, where he say, maybe you're looking at it true, because the man does not even know. The man who talking, the former man, you know, the person who he trying to influence don't know. It's a whole confusion. So we need to really, really settle down in our democracy. And so we are here because this presents a clear opportunity for us to do that, to talk about the president. And the first man you want to thank here in this public gathering is His Excellency Dr. George Manawiya. Extraordinary leadership he has shown over the last 5.5 years, almost 6 years now. No president has faced the difficulties that we have faced. No president in our democracy. I mean, in our democracy, where there have been presidents who've not had to deal with democratic rights. There have been presidents who've had all the power unto themselves and no restraint, meaning anything the president say that, hey, if you criticize him, he put you in jail. There's not difficulty there. Yeah. We're talking about facing something where when somebody calls your man, you can't do anything to the person because of the dispensation you're in. As a president, somebody lie on you, say you steal, you can't do nothing because the person's constitutional right are protected. George Weah is the first social media president. There will be other social media presidents coming after George Weah, but he was the first one to start dealing with the lies and the propaganda that have now been dispelled by the scorecard that we'll talk about today. Because the biggest rap on the president and the government is the quality of governance is low. The people just doing anything in the country. There's no structure. There's no thing. You know, all the indicators are going bad. Nothing. They're not doing anything. They're not doing nothing. They're just there. I mean, how can somebody come to power 5 years with all the things that you see? And the frustration is that sometimes the media people, they know the truth. No, let me tell you, I've changed my position. I used to believe that truth has an objective essence in politics, meaning 2 plus 2 is 4. Whether a media man says it's 5, it is not. When we came to power, that was my position, that 2 plus 2 is 4. You know my position now? My position is, if the media says 2 plus 2 is 5, then it is 5. Because the Liberian people will say 2 plus 2 is 5, send the media finish reporting. And by the time we correct, they get to know 2.2 like 4, that time late, that 2 years now, you're moving on to other things. A significant damage has happened. So we must work so the media can say 2 plus 2 is 5. So the Liberian people can hear it. That's the position the government taking now. Because the government say you do wrong and the media men go lie on it. The Liberian people should be able to say, no, this is not possible. I mean, high school students around the country should say, look, that thing you're talking as a journalist is stupid because from my economic class, where I learned, but that's not a society we're in. Anything media men go on really talking, our people hearing it, and they will act on that. And you go counter it. Then the people can say the Minister of Information have been working. Let me tell you, I can tell people you can go study in the market. When you want pass exam, you can go in the market hall and go study. You waste your time because that noise there. You will not concentrate. So when you want to give information and the other people lying and they protesting, the time you wasting time because nobody will hear you. The environment is toxic, it's noisy, and so it's a breakdown. Today, as we stand here today, the environment is quiet. There are no protests. People are looking for information to go vote on. This is the biggest opportunity we have to kill propaganda. Not us. The American government through MCC has already killed propaganda by this kind of platform now that we have. The report that just came out because people all over the country are not hearing. So, but NSA, President not doing well. But how come now the American government say the man passed 14? How? But I thought they said, but I didn't want that last year too he passed. But if the man passed last year, he passed this year. Then why the other people in the opposition can just be talking thing over there? Why they confusing us? We have the opportunity to tell the Liberian people today. The other people don't want you to know that George Weah is arguably the greatest president of this country, which we have been saying. Now, all talking now. That is co-card talking. So let's say thank you to the president. The president has allowed our democracy to work on its own without interfering with it. He has allowed the country systems to move. Whether our fiscal policy, the macroeconomic stability. He has made tough decisions. We're talking about that. He Minister hinted that the man inherited something broken. We didn't even know it was that broken. When he got there, he saw the mess. He said, what? Man, I thought he put and said it. I thought that the best expert that we had in the country here would do it. What? I mean, have all the things report there. What is there? What report there? The man saw the mess, the cesspool. We'll talk about some of that. The minister told you, when the president came, it was difficult. Onme was here spending money. When you say macro stability, it's about the money that coming. What are that money, that United Nations money, that NGO bringing it to pay their people? NGO people were here not because of Joseph Boakai. NGO people were here because there was a war. So Liberian people are telling us, the fact that no NGO here mean the country has. So what they want for the country to go back to war so NGO can come. No. NGOs respond to national emergencies. After those things they go, you will not judge the country because an NGO men are hired 200 persons, they no longer hire, so the only way for NGO, no. The country not going back to war. We'll never go back to war. It will never. The people who want all to go by the war, they're wasting their time. Like people will not go by the war. So NGOs were here, Onme were here, they were spending a lot of money. And that's why we're helping our economy. You go live with your uncle. He said, don't pay school fee. I will feed your children. Oh, I'll give you a car. Oh, I'll pay your rent. You have arrived now, right? You can say your life is improved. You are living with your uncle. He's doing everything for you. You as a person. You getting your small money. What you supposed to be doing with it? Ain't you supposed to be keeping it? But you keeping it, you say, my uncle rich and he's taking care of me. My own money I'll get out, we enjoy it. So you just do all that one for 4 years, you live with your uncle. One morning you just get out and say, my man, pack up and leave. My children coming. The way you think that man will start doing that, oh, the man wicked, oh, I've been with you 4 years, you give me 10 to, yeah, my brother, now what happened in this country? The people brought billions of dollars to this country. At the time they were bringing the money, the government of the day, the Joseph Boakai government, all the people who were advising them, for 12 years. They were supposed to be planning, saying, when these people go, what will do? They didn't do it. The general, the men were living with uncle. When they, but you know the first thing the man said, when the president took over now, he took over the house now, he said, my man, are you the president now? Our money finished. The president said, I beg you, y'all give me 1 year, have workers then. I just stabilized, I'm looking at the budget, I'm looking, everything matters. Mr. President, you ran to fix it. The other people didn't fix it. We're here, there, during the time. Then we let asking the question, but we need people that were here. Why you're impressed there all the time? Why? I asked the former IMF mission chief, Mika Saito, when she came to Liberia, after we structured the IMF program, started talking all the difficulties and all of that one. I said, let me ask you something. All the mess there, there was an IMF program here on American, on a Boyman Kamara, and they were here. Why these tough decisions were not made? You know what the mom told me? She said, your president knew, you knew, I knew. Three of us knew. Let's work together and face it. The people who created the mess, they're not here again. Let's get down to the way and do it. I said, so everything that is happening under the man, like tough decision making, and not joke. So you gotta respect him when you see him. You gotta respect him. You know about it? They have no macro. I'll give you one startling example. And that one will define the election. Summer 8. In 2011, the country's net reserve, all our money, there was a central bank report. And I got a fact checker, y'all listen. Go to the 2011 annual report of the central bank. Wama Kamara, the former finance minister, he is also a former central bank executive. He was the statistician at the central bank, so you know what I'm talking about. He probably wrote this report. And I want you to ask him, and I want the people on the spoon panel to ask him. The reserve was 337.9 million. In December 2017, 6 years later, the country's reserve was 110 million. The difference between 337.9 and 110 is 200. I told my children give me that. I told my children give me that difference, Jenna. They said it's $227 million. Between 2011 and 2017, the country lost $227 million under Joseph Boakai and all its economic handlers. What were they doing with $227 million? Where is it? Our reserves came down. So this election is about the depletion of our reserve, the throwing away, the wasting and the mismanagement of $227 million. Georgia inherited that. The net reserve Georgia inherited of $110 million. The net reserve as of the last central bank reporting is $332 million. So George Weah has restored and put back $212 million. Joseph Boakai took $226 million, throw it away. George Weah put it back. That's what we're going to vote on Tuesday. And somebody say the man who put $212 million back in the country's reserve must be replaced by the man who took $227 million and wasted it in the country and we get nothing to show for it. The Liberian people will make that choice on Tuesday. So you ask the former finance minister who can be on spoon. And I want the spoon panelists to ask him, what did the country do? This is a factual report. This is not something that I'm making up. This is central bank report. That language here. The bank's net foreign reserve position as at end December 22, 2011 was $337.9 million. I'm reading it from central bank report. Don't go over it. Then I see when you go to the end 2017 report, you will see 110 million. Let the high school students all across the country who are going to vote, let them ask Joseph Boakai, what did Unity Party do with 227 million? And why should they replace George Weah, who has replaced that money by 212 million or more? First fundamental question. That's what the election is about. President Weah faced the crisis of Corona. Corona is nothing. You can't compare Ebola to Corona. A baby. Corona destroyed countries. Africa is in a serious debt crisis today because of Corona. Interest rates have gone. There was a time where after the financial crisis, interest rate was at zero. Interest rate in some countries were negative, meaning they're paying you to keep your money in the bank. Negative rates. All over everybody was a country went just start borrowing on that zero interest rate. Recently, what happened after the Ukraine war, Korea, see the Federal Reserve carry interest rate high. All the countries in crisis right now. Corona, that global crisis. West African countries are in crisis. Just see all the situation in Ghana. Inflation jumped all in America. America. President Biden came on a crisis in America. Because of inflation, Biden had to fight. I listened to a lot of economic speech celebrating inflation coming down small. Because the last small thing when inflation go up, everybody is a pinch in your pocket. Everybody feels it. You're there.
Stimulus.
Yes. So inflation. So all the challenges Corona brought. The story of Liberia to George Weah with Corona is that George Weah has performed well. People ask him, but how you manage? George Weah revenue was protected. Revenue actually increased during Corona. Domestic revenue increased during the Corona. Inflation came down. He said, how you doing it? He said, because I'm responsible. I said, no borrowing from the central bank. The last government used to just take central bank money and pay salary. That had all the reserve came down. The one I'm telling you about said 337 to 110. Like either you take the central bank money, you pay government salary, you not put the money back. You take the central bank money, you take government salary. You take the central bank money, you go, you chase a money changer to exchange rate. The exchange rate under United Party came from 55 US dollar to 55 Liberian dollar to $1 US in 2006. By the time they were leaving office, you know the exchange rate was 125. So their whole policy was to manage the exchange rate to stay stable. It did not stay stable for 12 years. It was 55 to 1, and it ended up being 125 to 1 over that 12-year period. All that time, they took the country reserve. They 227 million to waste it beyond A, to waste it beyond to pay government salary, not pay back. Now, when you pay government salary, you're not wasting the money, but you got to put it back. The dog hole, they didn't cover hole. The dog hole for the man look at the hole, he put money back in the hole, he covered their hole. Then now the man is saying they won't move from power. But the Liberian people will get answer for them on Tuesday. So, all the propagandists can't prove me wrong with these numbers I'm talking about. People who manage the country, Joseph Boakai, who created this wreck that we inherited. Where in 2007 or 2008, they made a decision to take 5,000 people off the government payroll. They retired people. They took people off. 5,000. If those people were still on the payroll, between their time and our time, the government would have paid them almost $100 million. So those people, those Liberians who were taken from the payroll, were deprived of government earnings to the tune of 100 million United States dollars today. That's the government that's supposed to replace. When George Weah came to power, he had that same decision to make. Whether to put 5,000 Liberians down. What decision did George Weah make? George Weah put Liberians who were not on the payroll. He put them there. That's the decision George Weah made. He created fiscal space. Something called fiscal space creation. You know, finding fiscal space. He looked at the budget and found fiscal space. When the partners rejected 2,003 of our people, thanks to them, they paid these people for 12 years. 12 million a year times 12 and how much? 144 million. Joseph Boakai did not have to spend from the government budget. Why he didn't use that to build Lofa Road? And the question the Lofa people should ask him, Uncle, why when you were not paying the health workers, when the donors were paying the health workers, why did not take this money to do road in Lofa or to do the road in the southeast? So we now see why the woman said opportunities were squandered. I am here defining for you what he means by we squander the opportunities. When George Weah came, the president took the 2000, but it was not an easy decision. The first decision, the president said that we got to cut. The president said, let's cut my salary and let's do a proper cut. To make special, so that cut generated something around 7 million to be able to accommodate some of those people. Then we went and did other radical things. Scratch card. I mean, look, me, Minister of Finance, I do not see scratch card. Okay, I'm on some boards. The only time I see a scratch card when some of the boards are on, they bring a scratch card and they bring cash slip to me. As minister, I don't get a scratch card. Scratch card to the tune of 5,000 US dollars used to expire in people's pockets in this country. And not scratch card, but what do you call it thing? Gas slip. Gas coupon about 5,000 used to expire. Ministers and other people used to carry to the gas station and give it. They said, no, it expired. So, okay, yeah. How do people use the country money? The people who want can take over. The people who can be on radio talking, say they want to talk policy, how they use the country money. You call it you call your own. You get in the government by calling your own salary. Me, I want me 8,000 yo. Me, I want me 4,000 yo. Now the government there. No system. Poor country. One man make $25,000, a teacher make 45 US dollar immigration. And that Joseph Boakai government look at that kind of disparity for 12 years. That's the kind of thing our people were through. George Weah had to fix that mess. He was confronted with challenge, put people on the payroll. Then the reform they started, the crazy reform they started under Joseph Boakai and the former finance minister, Amarkone, who were there. You know what they did? They took Ministry of Finance salary way up. Where we sitting here, civil service. They took the salary way up. Civil Service Association, Civil Service Agency, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Gender, and the Foreign Ministry. All of them, the people workers, had a higher salary. The rest of the government, they stopped. Because why? They figured out they did not have money to carry the whole government up, so they would start with only 4. It's like you have 100 workers. You take 10 of the workers, you take their pay from $100, you carry it to $700. Then you reach to the point and say, but I will not be able to have money to do the other 90. Okay, you're the other 90 worker. You're please wait. In 3 years time, we'll deal with you. That the situation was in this country here. That the situation George Weah inherited. So what George Weah then did, they say it's unfair for 4 government entities, for a secretary in the Ministry of... I'm my own ministry. You might be happy with me, that's fine. I'm my own ministry. There were people there who were secretary making 2,000, who were making higher than a secretary in Ministry of Agriculture. It is unfair to the country for one staff to make that kind of money with the same skill and the other staff makes peanut. We are all moral beings. Yeah, we can play politics. But the George Weah was not elected to play politics with the lives of Liberia. He was elected to make tough choices. Liberians are happy, Liberians are not happy. The majority of Liberia at the end of the day, we appreciate it. So this is what we did. Some of the health workers who were brought on the government payroll were not paying taxes. The NGO team I talked about, the 2003, they were not paying taxes. The challenge is that when we brought them on the government payroll, then they had to pay taxes. Some of them are interpreting that tax as a cut. It is not a cut. Every Liberian must pay tax. And so the 2,300 people started paying taxes. Some of them interpreted it as government cutting them because NGOs were not taking that tax from them. Some of them are interpreting Social Security. Social Security, the law says every citizen must pay 4%. When you retire at age 60, 65, the government will pay you that money back. That is not a tax cut. That is not a tax cut. That is your future savings. When you no longer are able to work for the government or a private entity, the Social Security Agency, the Social Security will then pay you that money. In America, in France, all over it is there. Some of the workers are taking the 4% to interpret and tell people that, no, the opposition people are telling them, the propaganda say, the government cutting you, even though that your own money, the government saving when you retire. We have the opportunity to clarify that. When you talk, we talked some of these things before, but the noise plenty. Okay? So that's what George Weah inherited. And that's what we are fixing. What this report has done, and we'll come and talk about the report now, is to say, listen, after all these painful, difficult choices, you're fixing this, you're fixing that. You're putting supplementary teachers on the payroll and voluntary teachers, 3,000 voluntary teachers. For 12 years, Joseph Boakai did not put them on the payroll. These teachers worked for free across the country. They were volunteers for 12 years. United Party did not put one volunteer teacher on the payroll. In 2020, we put 2,800 of them on the payroll. The president in two weeks ago announced that there will be no voluntary teacher or any health worker in the country. So that means there are about 1,700 more volunteers that are still there teaching. They are now going to be qualified as full-time teachers. We're preparing the budget now. In January, they are gone. In the healthcare, in the health sector as well, all volunteers will be absorbed. But that decision was already made in 2020. That speech that George Weah gave, he already took that decision 2020. And he brought 2,800 people on already. I tell you, balance people, because we're looking for more money to expand. Then he said, listen, since you don't have to spend $53 million next year for elections, and since I have generated $123 million in domestic revenue, you're hearing me? George Weah raised domestic revenue 120 million with or without COVID, with or without Ukraine war. Despite macro crisis, revenue is now up by 3% of GDP, or 120 million. He said we use some of that 55 and increase government salary. We use it to deal with some of the private sector issues. People want loans. We put it there, and then we look at some of it. We put it in education because we're looking for money to improve education. That's how we spend that 55. That we're not spending on election next year, and we don't have to spend it on election for 6 years. By the time he reaches that 6 years, revenue increase can go to 6% of GDP, so we get another 100 million with all the things that are happening here. Now the man you say you will retire.
Yeah. Judge Straka?
You move messy?
Yeah.
You don't see you don't see my move Messi or Ronaldo on the feet? Why you don't see that one? Where you don't see they say Ronaldo down, they say Messi down? Where? Now the poor run behind the coach that day. I played the Steelers with break. So like the people say, how you yeah, it's true. Some people got confused. It's true. Some people look at it like, so the people protesting, or the people say the country house. Some people say, the people saw other things. But then when people now know, yeah, some people now know, so what? The man has done well. You think how we paying all these roads? How you paying for free tuition? How you paying for free wax? $40 million free tuition, free wax on the bill for the government. $40 million. 12-year Joseph Brackett had $80 million. What did they with that $80 million? What did they with the 144 for the healthcare worker? So those are the monies that they should be asking for. What did they with the 27 million from the central bank? I mean the 227 million from the central bank. You talking about money missing? And the money missing is the headline there. Tomorrow, the headline should say, what happened to the 227 million? The headline should go to the central bank report and ask the former government how to account for it. All the newspaper, all of you here. You should write it. How many newspapers in here? You write the headline. You ask the tough question. You write the editorial. Because these are objective fact. They're not lying now. That CBR report, you go there and do the subtraction. You ask all the government, the people who are running the country, what did they do with the 227 million? Yeah, you ask them. So today, we now are able to stand objectively. Last year, the report came up, but we didn't make it big much. Right? Like we're doing it now. Because we knew this day was coming. In fact, I remember Ben Sanvi asking me a question. Will you pass the next year? And I told Ben Sanvi, we not only pass, we passed 12 last year. I said, we will increase our pass. He said, you sure? And I hear not pass. This is to tell you that I'm not guesswork here. The president been putting us under pressure about these things, about improving governance ever since. The president declared this year a year of governance. Last year, all the government systems that were broken. People talk about audit. Let me tell you. You ask all the people there. Let them go read a consolidated audit. The biggest challenge we have faced with audit in this country is that government people take government money and they don't want to pay, they don't want to do financial reporting. So when the auditor goes to audit, he says, I can't see the financial report, so I can't audit. So the revenue account under the United Party was disclaimed by John Molu. The same John Molu who is now supporting that side, told that side he disclaimed them because he said he didn't have sufficient financial information to even audit them. The same John Molu who on that side. So these people are not on these sides for objective truth. They are taking these positions because of what they want for politics. So the other reports are there. The consolidated have been disclaimed severally. It was the biggest challenge of GSC. When we took over, we started to improve the law. We can't do this. Let the people audit. Listen, let them audit and find what they have to find, but let the report say something. So now we move from disclaimer where it says no information. We work now, and we are being able to say you have a lot of information. Then we go to adverse opinion. So under our government, we've had adverse opinion, yeah. And then we move from adverse opinion in the special budget year. We move to unqualified opinion. There will be issues there, no problem. Some of the reason why you can even hear some of the issues is because of the very transparency of the government to make all this information available to the public. Whether that road fund, whether that this. There's nothing wrong going on there. These are transparencies. Every year, the Minister of Fiscal year, when he is Amora, we send every week all fiscal data to the IMF. When we're doing that, the IMF, the guy who was here, you call him Jeff, the former IMF mission country director. The man said, you sure you can do this? for the IMF to see your fiscal spending every week, it's going to be intrusive. Say, well, we got to hide. We do it. We got nothing to hide. Now the old government has something to hide. That they took 200 million of debt, they put it under the table. We took that debt money and put it on the table. Then the former finance minister saw the debt went up high. He said, oh, the government borrowed their money because the debt was, something like 300 million. You had 200. I correct it, bring it to 500. The former finance minister said, oh, the government have borrowed 200 million. The post in the country. When I challenge him, he said to you, like, that debt, you the one borrowed that money, you hiding it. I only expose it. But the people who go on that side, they say, where they call in the coming. They've messed this country up. They messed it up. And President Tweah and his team are fixing it. That's a significant challenge we take out of tackle. We'll talk about some of that through the scorecard to see, so you get a fair sense of the level of challenge that we have. MCC scorecard, the minister told you what it means. Well, the first meaning we want to draw from it, and everybody drawing from it right now, because let me tell you, there used to be something called the World Bank Doing Business Report. That report is no longer coming out because there was some corruption with that report. So there was too much competition because investors were looking at the report too much. So people started doing all kind of things with that report until countries say, we don't need it, that thing is not fair. So the small problem happening to that report, the bank board discontinued the report. Right now there is a discussion as to how do you replace that doing business report. So there is no doing business report right now. So the only report now that you got to go look at now has to be what? The MCC report that was trending right now in the absence of the doing business report, which is no longer being published. So everybody paying attention. MCC report, when you pass it, means it's not about MCC business. It's just that it's about the quality of governance in the country. We ourselves take interest in improving all of these sectors that MCC report looks at. All of these sectors, we take interest in improving it. For the report, for the betterment of the lives of our people. The other benefit is that, yes, you get a chance to apply for a compact grant. It can be 300 million, it can be 500 million. We'll come and talk about all of that one now. So the report has major parts: economic freedom, ruling justly, and investing in people. Those are the broad categories. To what extent people are economically free in the country. There they talk about fiscal policy, inflation, trade policy, how the whole economy, people have choices, businesses have that kind of freedom to operate. They assess you on that. How are you ruling justly, the rule of law, contract enforcement, all that stuff there. It is there. Government effectiveness, freedom of information, all that one. 92%. Bagu is strong. Then we say, how do you invest in the future of the country? And here what they mean is really the investment in human capital. How much money you're putting into education, how much money you're putting into health, okay? How you're protecting girls. They just changed it. They want girls, the number of girls that are entering first grade and leaving sixth grade. All your girls entering first grade must leave sixth grade. So if 100 girls enter first grade and 30 survive to seventh grade, that's a big problem. It means 70 girls drop. They're moving into lives of poverty. So everybody listening, the priority now for Ministry of Education, for Ministry of Finance, for the government, for the country, must be we're going to keep our girls in school, because when a girl falls out of school, the probability for the increase in poverty is higher than even when a boy. Because the girl can get pregnant. So a poor girl gets pregnant, and chances are that she gets pregnant by somebody who also cannot afford, that child steps into poverty. And then that cycle, how do you break that poverty trap, that poverty cycle? So they want us to pay attention to how we're protecting girls and we're greater, and then child health. So that's that. So there are 20 of these indicators: scattered access to credit, employment, all of that. Historically, the country has never passed 14. Joshua is the first president to reach to C14. Hey, my brother, 14, C14. What number? The man 14, but the man 14. Yeah. So he's the first president to C14 because he's 14. Then you go and then people go and vote for him on November 14. 14 West. Yeah, the man passed 14. Then he number 2 on the ballot, like his second term. So you can see that God has said no, that the man win. But you see, you understand? Yeah, 14 minus 2, that's 12 years. So everything, all the mathematics, are in a man's favor. Everything is like divine grace, divine blessing. You get for it. Yeah. But somebody told me, damn, man, I just don't know. All the indicators the man could buy, he couldn't buy no other number but 14, man. Like God said to him, where now? Yesterday, God called me and said, I swear to God, why you say 15? Why you say 12, 13? You put him on 14. You saw the book and say that the man imagine number. No, that person like God. Right? It's there. You get for grace, my people. You get for it. So fiscal policy, we pass. That pass. Fiscal policy is about the deficit. Whether the government is borrowing more money than not. So when you take the budget, they will calculate the deficit. The goal under the IMF program, every country, is to keep deficit within 2 to 3%. If the deficit goes higher and higher, yeah, you're challenged. So you're judged according to your peers. This is a very difficult indicator. We passed it, I think, 4 times in the last since 2007. Yeah, so a fact we're reporting here now. There's no politics here. Fact. The last pass was 2014. Since 2014, we've never passed. We passed now. Before 2014, we passed 2007, 2008, and 2009 fiscal policy. So that inflation, we passed. You know the inflation story. We need to talk about that one, right? Yeah, we know the inflation. Yeah, I mean those are all. I mean, yeah, 2014 we failed from 2014 all the way up, and then we just passed. It doesn't matter. You can fact check those things. It's always good. The broader story here is that what they do is that they average 3 of the schools. So 1 year is not important in this fiscal policy. It's not 1 year. They average the 2 previous years and this year. So when you're passing, it means that passing get weight because that years of work. Even though the passing might at 70, right? But you're trying to see whether you can get to that 70. If you in 30, I don't care how you do, you will never reach 70 because when the average 30 plus 40, you can't get to 70. So you gotta be around like what? 69. And then you hustle, you go to 69.5. Then 1 year you jump to 73. Then you jump, you know how you get to 70? Yeah. When you average the 3. So you gotta be near the passing mark. So it shows the president's commitment to fiscal discipline, macroeconomic prudence. All of that work that we're showing right now here. And the big part is the IMF program and the rigidity and the discipline. When you say the government can't borrow from the central bank, you're basically saying that even when you can't pay salary, because the way people don't say how salary mean when all of you pay your taxes, when they call your taxes on the business program, pay the taxes, that money that kind of what we use to pay salary. But sometimes in a year it can be slow, sometimes it can be fast. So when it's low, the whole government they used to go in the central bank and cover it. We, the president, said we can't do it. So the only other way we gotta find out we can tax central bank money. That's the kind of thing that we got. So inflation is there. Trade policy is about the average tariff rate, barriers to trade. All the checkpoints. Let me use this opportunity. Listen, we don't need too many checkpoints on the road. We made some progress in that area. Look, you want to bring a good from the local tour border and move it straight to red line. Maybe 2 checkpoints on the way. We have had meetings and said, listen, my brother, we are a free country. If you have multiple checkpoints on the road, so there used to be a lot of checkpoints. You know that they have been. You're going investigating. There have been reduced checkpoints, but maybe we need to reduce them more. So we'll say, oh, you reduce it as security. We say, listen, people are grading all these things. Business people feel that they are paying bribe along the way, and people are charging them. So all that will add to the price in rail market. By the time somebody finish crossing all those checkpoints, they put the price on the oil to rail, and it affects the reputation of the government, right, in the country, and it makes people unhappy because prices are high. Will be high. When you move all the barriers, then the price will go down. So that the trade policy here, the free port of Monrovia, we now put the president now installed 2 gantry cranes there. What that gantry crane will do, we call it mobile cranes, it will move ships faster. So it unload the ship through the harbor here and move it. So the turnaround time will improve by maybe 2 or 3 days. So where ship used to stay 4 days, 3 days, maybe it just stay 1 day now, or maybe 2 days. Then they will not have to pay that cost and pass it on to you and myself. So all that complicated trade thing, Ministry of Commerce processes all of that, trade policy we passing now. Yeah. Political right power, when I talk about it, Judge Tweah has magnified the political freedom of this country more than any president. I mean, the plurality of criticism, the vociferous nature of criticism, the vitriolic nature of criticism has disproportionately flown through the roof under Judge Tweah than under any president. And there is no political prisoner despite that. You got to clap for the man. What? Oh, yeah, maybe he's strong. Yeah, rule of law. Rule of law is very key. We pass this indicator as well. Rule of law is key. The whole country, investors, everybody looking at whether the justice system can give the country, anybody their fair share. That indicator, whether it's a complicated process, whether you are able to enforce contracts. Like for example, if somebody lends somebody, if a bank gave somebody money, and the person gave their building for that money, and the person not able to pay the money back, when the bank go to take the property, and the bank face difficulty, that's a challenge in contract enforcement. It means the country can enforce contracts. So investment, and that's what's happening right now. A lot of the reason why one bank president told me, Minister, if the day you want my bank to get more money, y'all move the limitations in the judicial system where when we go take our property, we can face with a lot of challenges, so nobody even will trust the collateral system again. The day you break that, my bank will put $4 million outside. That's what the man challenging me. So we're working on that with the Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice, and the current Chief Justice are working to see how we do all these things there. So all that one there, it means we're passing. But when we pass, it doesn't say the war ends. It means we should be doing better. We want to pass at higher rates. Okay, 59%, but we want to be going up. Yeah. We're not talking about freedom of information. Government effectiveness. No, the country has never passed government effectiveness. I saw the former Minister Amara talking about government. So the minister, you should know what government effectiveness is. Unfortunately, he doesn't know that. He doesn't know what it is. So he said he never passed it, but then he said we didn't pass it. But you fail math. Yeah, I fail math. Then can you tell me, say, you fail math? But how you do that one? You got to pass math first before you put, they call your eye moving from there. But not only that, you got to look at the scores and the rate at which we're moving. Yeah. It's a complicated indicator. It's a body of things, along with regulatory quality. And I made a statement on this before. The country has never passed these two indicators for a reason. What it says is that we should pay attention to intangible governance things. We Liberians don't appear to be good at intangible things that we don't see. We appear to be good at physical buildings, roads, electrical wiring. Those physical things that people see are what we are good at. But the processes that lead to the construction of building are what you put under government effectiveness. So how effective are you that if this building is supposed to come up in 4 days, that your processes you have can lead you to ensure that the building comes up in 4 days? You don't see and measure those processes. What systems you have in place so that the building comes up in 4 days? Rather than you put a building up in 6 months. In 6 months, the building will come up, right? But it should have come up in 4 days or in 2 months. You didn't do it, you let it come later on. So that what is measuring? How efficient, how effective are you? All that one is being greater here. The fact that we've never passed that since 2007 says a lot about the country. But we're passing some of the other things that are inside it too. But when you look at it, say how effective are you? I mean, all the government ministries, all the staff, everybody got to go to work knowing that when they sit at their desk, how they respond to an email is inside the 1 year. If they took 3 days before they open the email, then how government are effective? Because the World Bank responds, the World Bank is waiting for that email for them to move to their board. So if the staff does not respond to email on time, then it means you're delaying the World Bank processing. So we've had to deal with these issues here. So look, the World Bank, some of the money that the World Bank brings to countries goes back to the World Bank. You know that? We are governors of the World Bank. We're looking for more money for the World Bank. But here's the case. I think the last analysis is around 50 billion of that money that World Bank brings is threatening to go back to the World Bank. Why? because the government effectiveness, the time it takes for the legislature to approve something, you know, what the World Bank was, as soon as something happened, like they approve it the next day, the minister just signed it the next day, that kind of lightning speed. It's not happening across countries in Africa. Many countries are feeling of the 47 countries that are in, I think, giving our ownership. Of this 47, I think only 50% pass government effectiveness and 50% failing government effectiveness. So yeah, so that's what it means. So no minister will go say we not pass government effectiveness when the country as a whole is dealing with a challenge. All right? Yeah. So you know, these are the things. Okay. Then investing in people. This is a big area. It shows we pass health expenditure, which is good. What that means, let me tell you, you're the journalist. Every day you hear say, oh, the government are giving money to hospitals, oh, the government are giving money to, this is the kind of indicator that dispel that. What we need, we do provide resources. What we need to do within the government is to improve the administration of these resources as well. Because that's where some of the government effectiveness coming in. When we give the hospital drug, does the drug stay there for the time it's supposed to stay there, or does the drug go into a private clinic? Which is what, right? So if the drug doesn't stay there and go into the private clinic, then government effectiveness, government is not effective. Then the mechanism of monitoring is not well designed. So it's not that you're not spending, it's that the quality of spending is poor, because when you spend, the thing that you're supposed to, the money's supposed to be bad, it takes time or it doesn't happen. So those are all the review. So next year when the president wins, all the government team will bring it to such a level. The cabinet will start looking at these intangible things. The president goes to cut the ribbon on a building, on a road. He can't go cut the building on an effective government. I mean, right? There's no way you can see it. But then we have to be intentional about that. Because why this thing is good, we're talking the MCC scorecard. There's another report that's important, which is the World Bank CPIA score. Liberia CPIA score improved last year. We didn't make much about it because we didn't want to make too much news on it. The World Bank moved Liberia from a fragile country. If you didn't break that news, you know, Liberia came from a fragile country for the first time under George Weah. I mean, we're no longer a fragile state because of improvement in our CPIA score. You want to clap for them, man? Yeah? Like another thing there. But the good thing is that every time you move 0.1 on the CPI score, it's almost like 15 million of credit or 20 million of credit from the World Bank. So why a country will now move from 3.1 to 4? If we move from 3.1 to 4 on the CPI score, we are entitled to getting 80 million more from the World Bank. So it means everybody working now in our line got to be dedicated. And the World Bank tracking some of these things to trade policy, all that thing. But maybe the World Bank going even a little more than the MCC is going to look at some specific processes. All right, so that's that. Immunization rates, we passed. You know, we got, by the way, we had, I think, one of the highest vaccination rates during COVID, Liberia. Our leadership under COVID, the president's leadership under COVID was extraordinary. Yeah, immunization rates. The key challenge in investing in people is in the education space. And not only that, I will use this opportunity to say that the biggest challenge the country faces is human capital development. That was said in the World Bank report last year. The World Bank continues to alarm that human capital means the way we are educating our children, the amount of money we are putting in that process, the quality of education they are getting, the knowledge they are able to display, the competence, their math skills, their writing skills, all that I want are the human capital there. We have a lot of work to do in that area. So what it says is that they're moving now from, it used to be spending on primary education. They just changed it this year to say, we're going to not track primary education, but we're going to track education expenditure as a whole. All right? We didn't pass that indicator. This doesn't say we're not spending money in education. What it says is that we have to pay attention. We have to first increase the spending in education. And this is what I'm saying. The country is not going to election next year. It has 53 million that is spent on election. We need to take that fiscal space and when we account for the salary increase money, a good share of this money, my argument would be, should go to education, improving schools. For the first time this year in December 27 school districts, thanks to the Ministry of Education, 27 school districts had no high school since Joseph Jenkins Rao was president. Since Joseph Jenkins Rao was president, there were 27 school districts that did not have a high school. They are now having a high school under George Manuel Weah. And the man where Boaka say he won't replace. He was 12 years, he bring school to those 27 school districts. John Weah bringing school there. The children who going to school there, he telling the children they must move for, they must not vote for John Weah. So we are spending in education, but I think the ministry has a new plan that is going to cost the government 500 million over a 5-year period. That says that we need 100 million each year just for education alone. You can see, I just told you, say, we have increased revenue by 120. Education said we must give them 100 of that 120. Are we able to do that? Now when we give it, even the minister know that we're not getting we're committing here, but in the tough under circumstances. What it also means is that I think we got to try to meet half of that by taking spending from somewhere else. Because after this election, the country, we've seen the political pressures on the government. People don't have patience for all these explanations and this stuff. We got to make deliberate decisions to look at our budget and cut some things out from there and find some things there that the people want. Because the way the budget looks right now is there. We are spending on some things. We have 170 entities. We have to ask the question, do we need 170 entities? But then you ask that one there, but then you ask that fair question, somebody say, oh, Tweah coming, he said, so you see? So it's difficult. You have 170 entities. The question, do you need all? Or do you need to reduce it and take the money and put it in what the Liberian people want? They want their children to go to school. They want their teachers to be there. We need 4,000 or 5,000 more teachers in this country. 5,000 teachers, you pay them $100. You must do that math. That's not small money. At 5,000 times 100 times 12. Yeah, every year. A lot of money. You need about 20-25 million just to close the teacher gap. So, if that 25 million comes from the 120 I'm talking about, and you increase salary, and you want to do the money already finished, you got to go somewhere else. If you don't have a new revenue out of that 120, then it means something else must be cut. Where that thing will be cut at? The law says the first thing the government is supposed to do is to pay external debt, and meaning we say debt. The money you owe to the World Bank and the IMF, you don't have a choice. You have to pay it. If you don't pay it, you suspend it. So you can't play with that one. You can't cut that one. You can't cut debt. So you gotta cut, and we have cut waste a lot. Scratch card not coming to minister there. Gaslit not coming, right? Travel has reduced, right? You look at the travel budget on the Unity Party, our travel budget, Unity Party, we're just traveling. So we have cut all that fat from the government. Yeah, I don't other analysis there. When we are spending 4 million a year for travel, we are spending 1 million. Simple. Then I go respond to these facts are there. Then I go in the budget and we'll see all of that one. Yeah, they're there. So we gotta find other more structural things. Like I say, if we want to find 100 million new money, if you told the Liberian people, look in your budget structure, find 100 million new money besides the revenue, create that 100 million space, what will the Liberian people do? What will they say we want, they want? Say you put a referendum, say the government has a problem, the government has a 700 million budget. We want you. We are looking for a new revenue effort. We are making new effort to carry it to 800. We will do that effort. We want you to look at the 700 million and take 100 million from somewhere else and find it. Just clean it from the budget and say, Mr. President, here the 100 million, where did Liberian people find? Where did Liberian people look for that 100 million? That's a conversation that will be happening in the new national legislature. That's a debate, because you can clearly see that if the country has to move forward, we have to make some tough choices with the national budget, even if we're increasing the effort to find new revenue so that we can solve roads, move faster, so that we can invest in education more. So that's that. Natural resource protection. Has to do with all our natural resources. A lot of it has to do with, are we conserving all our natural resources so that they work for the future of the country? We got to make Liberia green. We got to go to carbon trading, and all this kind of one. This one will help us. This is a difficult indicator, but we believe that I'm going to make that challenge here. I promise here. All the experts have said, I've asked the expert, what does it take What does it mean? They say, Minister, we have to provide the gazetting. We got to do the gazettement processes here. We do that in time. We can turn this indicator around 1 year. Harrison, can we? All the experts then say we can turn it around. So I'm going to wager. Now we can pass this indicator next year if we make the necessary investment. Not only the money, but the processes. They're seeing government effectiveness here to move it in time to be able to do a large gazettement. The debate now is that I say, why should we? Some people say, why should we keep all this thing? I'm saying yes. We don't need to cut logs again. If I have my own way, logging, people are working for logging companies. But in the carbon trading, we can compensate for that. So we need money through carbon processes to compensate employees. Go get bigger money from that, then the log felling of the trees. So we won't save our planet. But we're telling the Paris Accord, we're telling all our development partners, if we're not supposed to cut our logs, we need to be compensated in a big way. The current model where somebody bring $1 million, we can't get it, it's not going to work. So we won't go to carbon market where we price the carbon that coming from those trees and we get hundreds of millions of dollars to give to our communities and our people. That's where all this conversation is leading. And we get it. These are deep conversations for the president's next term. And of course, girls' primary education completion rate, I talked about that. It's very important that our girls finish, our girls finish 6th grade. Our girls stop dropping from school. So we have to intentionally increase money in the budget for girls' education. You know, yeah. In the rural areas, they say sometimes, during certain period, the girls, they can leave school. Yeah, right? Because they don't have sanitary pads, right? So because of that, they leave school during menstrual cycle. No girl should face that challenge. So all in the rural area, we gotta find a way for the girl to stay in school. When she can't leave school because she's menstruating and she dropped out of school. Because when she start dropping she drop 4 years, she just look at it, I'll go to school next year. I ain't learning it, I don't understand it. She drops out of school. So we need a community engagement approach. The government, development partners, all the money, we need to pay attention to girls. We gotta move more girls. The good news for girls is that in Liberia, girls look like they are outcompeting boys in mathematics. We see that trend in the United States as well, so that's a good thing for girls. More girls appear to be graduating, than boys. So with that momentum, we need to then just push girls' education. So it's a challenging indicator. We spend the money, but we got to design the programs right. We are wagering that, next year we can see more improvement in this area of investing in people. I think the long and short is, the whole economic freedom, general economy, we're doing well. Land rights and access, we've been passing consistently thanks to the ministers in those spaces. Minister of Commerce, employment opportunity, access. The employment situation is a challenge. One of the biggest reasons for employment challenge, people need to know, is that the electricity situation. The electricity situation is improving. George Weah met 200,000 Liberians with electricity. He has given 1 million Liberians electricity. He has reduced the cost of electricity from 35 cents per kilowatt hour to around 22 cents, and for vulnerable households, maybe 15 to 18 cents. The more the cost comes down, the more the investment in infrastructure happens, the more manufacturing will take place. People want to manufacture things here, but they can't be depending on diesel. It's too expensive. So when you want jobs, you got to pay attention to the energy sector. You have to pay attention to access to credit. We're passing access to credit, but this pass doesn't mean that banks are giving money. Right now, we are behind Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, by about 28 points. Credit to the private sector as a share of GDP is around 43% in the whole sub-Saharan Africa. In Liberia here, our banks are doing 17. So in Nigeria, you take a typical African country, the bank there, the data say that out of $100, they are giving $43 to businesses. In Liberia here, out of $100 in the vault, the banks are giving $17 to businesses. That's a big gap. $1 of loan from a bank is equivalent to at least one job. Whether you hire a driver to just carry the car somewhere and sit down, that job. An office boy who will just be in the office while you go turn around, that job. Because you get out loan there, you're not going to say that you're going to build something, you're going to need people. So as soon as a bank gives loan, there's a direct correlation between the number of jobs. we have to take intentional effort as a government, as a society. It's a partnership thing. This is Liberia Business Association. This is Liberia Chambers Association, for all to address why the banks are holding back. The banks say they are holding back because sometimes people don't want to pay. Sometimes the legal system is challenging for them. Okay, that's part of the conversation we're having. All right? The business people are saying the banks are charging them high interest rate, but not just the interest rate. As soon as they step out of the door, the bank want their money back. The bank ain't even clear the farm yet, then the bank want their money back. That's part of the conversation. How do we have moratorium? So government need to step in and say, loan money to these people, don't ask them back for 1 year, we step in your rates. Those are the things, because we government Liberia ourselves, the World Bank, we can pay the World Bank for 5 years, grace period. 5 years, we don't pay the World Bank, 5 years. We only pay interest rate. We don't pay the World Bank 5 years, so we got a 5-year grace period. So that same logic should apply to certain sectors in the economy. So it's a big conversation, it's a resource commitment from the government that has to happen. All right, we have to take a share of the budget and commit that. People like to say, oh, the bad thing about that is that when the government start giving money, when people know, then they say that free money. They will not work hard because it will not be paid back. There are ways to avoid that moral hazard. Okay, so this is all the thing I'm talking here, that why the people scoring. I'm discussing the subjects that the people are grading. And by the time you look at all those subjects, they say we passed 14 out of what? 20. What we can do with that pass now, with the pass last year, is to then apply for a compact. We didn't apply for a compact last year. We passed, but we didn't apply for a compact. And we did it for a reason. We also wanted to assure the Secretary of State and assure the MCC board that when we send an application, it will not just be based on one pass, because we have to demonstrate a pattern of success. Yeah. This is not a fluke. Because when you present an application to the board member asks you, why do we believe that this is not a fluke? Right, I mean, yeah, you failed last year, you passed this year, it's not convincing enough. We didn't want that kind of situation. So we wanted to prove to the world, we wanted the president to show the people that what I began in 2019, when all the noise was here, I started cooking. The children were crying, the food was on the fire, was hot. I could not put my hand in a hot rest and put it in the boiled muff. No. The cassava was still boiling. The children crying, I will manage it. The food is done, I dish it up, it cold, people eating some of it now, they're now beginning to see the impact. So that's why. So we wanted to wait. You pass 1 year, you pass the next year, then you're projecting that you continue to work. So for us to maintain a third pass, everybody hearing me now, the government, everybody who got concerned, especially sectors where we have not passed before, we then need to show, make the commitment to the MCC board that we're going to make intentional efforts on this education thing, because the biggest thing that we need to turn around here on the MCC scorecard is the one that got to do with education expenditure and girls' primary education. We need to turn those two around to show the biggest effort, because that's impacting people, investing in people. So we are challenged to do that. All right. So overall, big kudos to the president for the quality of his leadership. This now debunks, decapitates, dismantles all the propaganda from the haters, the doomsdayers, as the minister put it, against our government. These people who don't base anything on fact but just on their feelings, they just sit and just lie to the Liberian people. Call all kinds of impossible things. You know, the other person died, the government kid, the other one, the system builder missing. Like all kind of crazy things. I mean, things that other countries, other people will say, well, I mean, are you Nigerians say, are they crazy? All that stuff that what define our politics here. We've lost election and by-election because of these propaganda. Our people didn't understand. Some of our own citizens too didn't understand some of these things. Some of them have been apathetic to go to vote because all the misinformation. But we are glad that we are at a point where the noise has widened. They still want to make the noise, but the resistance is stronger. And the fact that the MCC scorecard has now come to say, listen, last year you did it. We see your effort. You passed 12 last year, you now passed 14. We are fighting to see if we pass 16 next year. Hold the successes that we've had. There may be some slippages here and there, but overall, the president's commitment is to improve the quality of governance. Quality of governance meaning the quality of public audit, audit of the consolidated account, audit of all the accounts, Somebody said they established road fund. Nobody made road fund functional than George Manuel Weah. Road fund was locked into the Supreme Court. There was nothing going there. It was a total mess. Part of the messes that we have cleaned. And somebody want to take that credit away from money? Not possible. We stood the road fund up. You think we just passed a law? You know how many laws in Liberia have been passed, sitting and languishing somewhere, and it's not being enforced? You know how many laws? You think just passing law that the thing? You don't just pass law. You pass a law, you have to then enforce it. So we enforce the law, and we ensure that the road fund is viable, collected money that have been paid, that have been building roads here under President Weah. All right? All those things that we've done. I mean, the space of reform is vast. We've done a lot of things. And some of the things you run out of idea, you can't talk all. You can't make it in one time. We still have to talk about all the things that the government, you're going tomorrow. Yeah, you're going tomorrow. The big trend is the country is going up. Most of the indicators are trending up. Our anti-corruption score has improved. We have passed the toughest anti-corruption law on the continent. The President of the Republic of Liberia cannot dismiss a commissioner of the LCC. He has agreed to waive his power to the Senate. This is a rare instance in public governance where the executive surrenders his authority to the legislature for the interest of transparency and independence. Where has that happened easily? It is happening right here under George Weah. President in other countries can dismiss a commissioner. The commissioner will go audit his girlfriend. Here, if the president won't dismiss President Weah, any future president under this law, if they want to remove a commissioner because they're lacking, they gotta go convince the majority of senators in an up or down vote who will say, yes, Mr. President, we agree, let's move in through an impeachment process. That is the strength of the independence of LACC. And then you say the mayor is not trying to fight and improve the system. There will be investigations. Audits, our GSC is now, we are pressing government ministries, heads of agencies to be able to file their financial report. The law says that if a head of an entity does not submit the report, the Minister of Finance should hold the salary of that head of entity. Those things will happen in the second term. We gotta move, that will call government effectiveness now. The MCC will say, oh, the people now have a system where if a Minister A doesn't file a financial report, the Minister of Finance is holding the salary. So the government is becoming more effective. That one meaning of government effectiveness, that we are enforcing what the policy is, and not saying because the man of my friend, who know all Liberians, don't know too much, don't press a man too hard. And then the conversation we have in Liberia, hey, we won't do the Liberian thing, I didn't know too much, man, we did a law business. Government effectiveness say you can't do that. If you receive public money, you must report it back to the Ministry of Finance to get your next disbursement. Yeah, but when we put the pressure on all these things and hold the entity, then there can be some tension. But next year it's going to be, a totally new ball game. So at the end of the day, members of the press, I know we'll pause for question and answer here, but I think overall this is just the massive success. We stand proud with the president to demonstrate to the people of this country over the last 5.5 years of governance, George Weah has steered the country in the positive direction. And the verdict that will come out on Tuesday will confirm, because the Liberian people are now seeing the objective truth. They are now seeing through the veneer of lies and propaganda, and they are now hearing from independent authorities like the U.S. government through the Millennium Challenge Corporation. We rest here to take some questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Minister. So we'll take, hello. We'll take 6 questions, okay. But that will be very gender sensitive. We'll allow female to ask questions. You stand to your standing position, put your hand on your recognize, introduce yourself, you ask the question.
Yeah, so we, Famula is going to be leading the aspect of the, he ran ahead already and did that. So Famula is the Director of Communications at the Ministry of Information. He's going to be leading that aspect of the program. But you heard from both ministers already, the Minister of Information and the Minister of Finance. What we've gathered is that definitely governance in Liberia is improving. You know, as evidenced by the plaudits we're getting from the different international organizations. We've gotten several of that from the IMF, the World Bank. Now we've gotten that from the US government through the MCC. So that was the crux of the minister's presentation. At this point, we'll ask Famula to just step up front. He's going to moderate this aspect of the question and answer program. We'll take 6, like he said, and you will be asked to call your name, be brief, and designate your question to the specific minister you want to ask. You know, so yeah, let's begin. Famula, you can recognize it.
Okay, my name is Achi Boan, and I report for Today Abroad Television. Honorable Minister, during your deliberation, you mentioned that the past government, the Unity Party, there are a lot of money squandered and there are a lot of finances that are misused by the Unity Party. This has drawn to my attention that if you claim that those people mismanage funding intended to develop some infrastructure development of the country, why is it that the government didn't audit those people before leaving?
Okay. Yeah, more.
Okay. So one man, one female.
Yeah, my name is Anthony Jeffa from ABC Radio. Minister Tweah, thank you very much. You talked about reducing checkpoints to increase, to ensure that prices of goods and commodities are reduced. Reducing checkpoints create or increase risk, security risk for the people. How do you, or what do you intend to achieve when you reduce checkpoints, which increase security risks for the citizen, only to certify the reduction of prices for goods and commodities?
What I want only?
The next one is...
No, we don't have a time for this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Another person.
Yeah, my name is Aris Gwede and I report for Law FM TV. Liberia began benefiting from the MCC in 2010 when the US 15 million threshold grant was launched, which contributed to the affordability of electricity. That subsequently in 2016 also the government of Liberia, now the MCC, launched in US 207 million to revamp the hydro and lead to economic growth. And more particular, now that the government has made significant strides on the MCC scorecard, in terms of you being selected to benefit from the MCC, what are the specific areas will you recommend for the MCC so as to help improve Liberia?
Okay, do we have
Additional?
additional?
Let's take those three, so he was-
Okay, yeah, the other minister respond to those 3 first, then we can.
Yeah. These are 3 high quality, very good questions. Okay, the first question pertains to, you know, there's this thing in Liberian discourse that why you didn't audit, Let's get this thing clear. By law, we have the General Auditing Commission. You're going to explain this to the Liberian. The General Auditing Commission is in charge with auditing the accounts of government. So every year, the government is being audited. Every year. The notion that you will do special audits and all of that was being done. The GSC under the Unity Party have audit reports, and we're documenting all these things that they're working. The government right now is being audited for the last 5 years. The audits of the consolidated account. So audits are ongoing processes. The recommendations are there. So you can't say, you know, why you didn't audit. So we are already auditing. The use of reserve money, to bring the country's reserve down. There are many macroeconomic processes that are there. Reserve money means money should be sitting there. You should go to an economic system where you don't take the reserve money to Parliament. That was the system that they had. All right. So you take $20 million, you pay salary. Okay, how you audit that? You take salary from pay money for reserve to go pay government salary. Not necessarily a crime to pay salary, right? You use the reserve money and to pay government salary. Government people work for government. But you should be disciplined, and when revenues come, you should put it back. If you don't put it back, you increase the public debt. That's the kind of issue we're talking about here. All right? So their management of the economy was bad because they took 227 million from the reserve. Our management of the economy is better because we have added back 212 or so to the reserve. So the public has to judge the style of management. The reason why we move away from reserve, because when you have reserve, you just go into the reserve and you know, you're just using it. It's not good management. Whether you're doing it for exchange rate, whether you're paying government salary, no. We went to a new framework that said, let the CBR issue CBR notes. Some of you here should invest in that because the reason they increased it to 20%. It means when you invest $100 US dollar in the CBR notes, you're getting $20 back. That rate is higher than the rate on many pension funds in America, many 401k. So Americans who are listening to me should be earning plenty of money here to the CBL. They all should take, if any of them took 10% from their 401ks and put it into the CBL, they get 20% at the current rate per annum. Yeah, per annum. That is if you do it. But right now they do it per quarter, but it still adds up to that. So you do the prorated on a quarterly basis. That's fine. You still get your return. So that's the framework that President Tweah in the new CBL management have put in place. So the point is that we have managed the economy. We have managed macro systems much better. We have put systems in place. We have retooled the whole system under President Tweah. We have stopped borrowing. We've improved all the fiscal governance of the country, the macroeconomic governance. So it's not only a question. I mean, for example, we've audited these things that there. The other thing I like to tell people is that on day one, I asked some youth. I met like a focus group. I met 5 teenagers, maybe 18, 19, 20, to some house. And they were very active, yeah. Some of them were CDC, some of them were opposition. I was trying to win all of them over, by the way. So I better ask them, I say, you right now, I mean, at the point I was going to, I lost my thought there on them. What question? I'm making a point. I lost my train of thought on that.
That you met 2 group of people, one CDC group, you're trying
Yeah.
to raise them.
We'll talk about audit of government.
He was on audit.
Audit of government.
Yeah, audio of government, but there was a point I wanted to make
And then you also talk about the
in meeting that it happens sometimes, so you lose your thought. All right, okay, so let me get back to it. We'll come back to that already. Let me get to reducing checkpoints. Okay, he asked a question on risk economy balance. Yes, security is important, but the perception that trade is free is very big. It's very big. I'm not saying 0 checkpoints. Some people are comparing, so when you travel from Sierra Leone to, from the border to Freetown, when you travel in Ivory Coast, you see maybe 2 checkpoints. Maybe in Liberia, the checkpoints are a little more. Now, let me say this. We have reduced the checkpoints now. The time we're having a lot of these conversations, there were a lot of checkpoints. Some of the checkpoints have been gotten away with. But I still believe we can make some progress. I don't think we enhance the risk of security to say something bad happening, but the reputational risk of trade in the country is big. So I'm not saying eliminate the checkpoint. Let balance it such that the economic benefit is large, the security benefit is large. All right? That's that. 227 million hydro project. You're looking at a guy who led the writing of the economic constraints analysis that brought that money. I was the lead economist on the MCC program, working with my boss, Monique Captain, who is the head of the entity. And then somebody posted, the former minister posted the signing of the hydro thing, but he forgot to mention that the person who led the writing of a 212-page constraint analysis is the person who is the Minister of Finance right now. Without which that was not going to happen. Let me tell you, when we saw the ad, I applied for the ad, got it, did an interview. When I was announced in Washington as the lead economist to lead the drafting, there was significant doubt. I'll tell you how I know that there was significant doubt. Because Ghana contracted maybe a famous economist from one of the US-based firms or so to do it for them. They hired a consulting firm to write the constraints analysis. They were looking at Liberia, probably doing the same. Then they heard Samuel Tweah, George Washington University, saw my resume, said, I can make it. Somebody said, well, that's the man the country chose. So that the country let them go do it. So I'm telling this story because one day, after we did all that thing, Steve Rattle, a Georgetown University economics professor, visited my office. Now, my office was in the in a conference room at the Ministry of Planning, the old Ministry of Planning. That was my office. Every morning, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., I sat right there to write for the country for that period of time. Every morning, I went to work with Morning Captain in his office. I'll be there. So that same place he entered. He said, Mr. Tweah? He said, yeah, I know him, to my brother. Then he put the 212 page down. He said, let me tell you something. When you were chosen to lead this effort, there was no faith in you, both in MCC, both in your cycle. People had doubts. Said, well, how is it going to come out? He said, I've read every page of these 212. As an economics professor, I have my criticisms, I can pick my bones with you. But you have led the writing of solid economic stuff. I must say thank you for that. You have eliminated all doubts in your competency and your capacity. You did well for your country. Those were the commendations that Steve, I'm at the public, Steve, you're at George Washington, I'm in Georgetown. You ask him, I'm saying it publicly. You probably see this clip. He paid that visit. I think Cyril Lucas. So we worked hard with Money and the team, did a collective work, and I led the drafting and inputs from everybody. And so that's the first thing you need to do a constraints analysis. When you present that, it is technically, economically sound. Yeah. Then you, on that basis, you can conclude the grant. Yeah. Because that analysis will influence where the money will go, which is his question, right? Yeah. Where will the money go? That analysis says roads and electricity were the binding constraints to growth. But you identify human capital, education, what do you call it? Access to finance as major constraints. Yeah, even land rights, all of that. So it's a categorization of these other constraints. Even though it's electricity, it says you can't do anything in Liberia. Everybody crying for job. If you not fix the electricity business in Liberia, you will cry for a job for the next 100 years. That's what the report basically say. So let's pay attention to investing in electricity infrastructure. The hard infrastructure, the soft infrastructure, the pricing of that infrastructure, let's work on it. That's what that report says. Then it says road, you're going to face your country road. The president has committed to the people of the Southeast, to the people of Lofa County, that under his next 6 years, the road from Banga will be able to reach to Menikoma. We found the resources for that. The road from Ganta all the way to Hapa, all monies for these roads are already identified. We are identifying pockets of money for the coastal highway. The only issue we have is not money, it's time. The challenge is time. People want to see these roads. While we are fixing these roads, we make significant effort with our people of South and people of Lofa to improve the maintenance regime on these roads. CP and MPL, Ministry of Public Works, is getting more machines, doing their own stuff in combination with private sector actors to upgrade the lateral portion of these roads, especially during the rainy season, while the mean asphalt pavement is coming. Okay, so I think we would definitely look at a combination of part of the conversation is that we're a second compact country, we're not doing a new constraint analysis, so that shortens the cycle, right? We are also a former compact country, so to get a new compact, you got to make sure that the US dollars, the US taxpayers' money under the first compact is working. We have a lot of record to show with the improvement we're now seeing in LEC. LEC has reduced under money capital. LEC has reduced power theft with the help of Mary Bro significantly. Still challenge there, but everybody should stop stealing power so that LEC can get better. The MCC is paying attention to that. If you don't bring power tax significantly, MCC board will say U.S. taxpayers cannot come to that sector because U.S. taxpayer money, because you're still allowing a lot of leaks in it. So they fire a million when apply for, let them know that all the citizens listening to me have their responsibility to find people who stealing power, to stop stealing power if they are doing so, and for the government to be able to punish people who are doing so. All right? Because then that means the MCC will look at the indicator. It's there. Power theft has been dropping down from 30% to 20%. They're looking at that ratio. If the ratio is not declining too fast, they will hold, you know, the Minister of Finance and the board will hold the government, the presidency. You're not doing too much to justify why we should put U.S. taxpayer money in the energy sector. We want you to bring power theft down to 20%, to 15%. Right now it's still at, you know, whatever percentage. But I can tell you, money's been there for about a year, maybe a little more than a year. 1 year, 2 more years, that whole power theft situation will be brought under control. Yeah. The mechanism is already there. And so this is the right time and we have to move. I think our investment will still have to make a strong case for both roads and electricity, the combination of those two in the second combat. I know there are strong claims for the education sector as well. So there are 3 sectors: road, electricity, and education, because the World Bank report has defined human capital as the biggest challenge the country faces over the medium term. We can make that case to the MCC board as well to say we need some quality investments in improving the quality of teaching to certain sub-Sahara, even the girls' education that we're talking about here. We can make claims on that. So another thing we could also do is to do a regional compact, to work with Sierra Leone, work with Ghana, I mean not Ghana, but what do you call them, Cote d'Ivoire, to do something regional infrastructure. So all those possibilities are there. Yep. Any round?
6 is the second.
On the females and the
Thank you very much.
3 questions.
Yeah.
Ibrahim Sharif in a report for the Liberia News Agency. News of recently we listened to the former Finance Minister Honorable Amara Kone criticizing you as the current Minister of Finance. We would love to know what do you make of such criticism?
Yeah. All right. My name is Louis Stel, and I'm a reporter for General Talk Online and TV segment. Honourable Minister, is the MCC report released? Is it will benefit the government of Liberia?
Yeah,
Can we close it on any other person?
The last question, anybody?
So please come here, please.
Any female?